The key was still warm in my hand when I saw her sitting there, perched on my cream leather sofa like a vulture waiting for its prey. Helen Mitchell, my mother-in-law, wearing that signature smirk that made my stomach turn. "Well, look who finally decided to come home," she said, tapping a stack of papers against her knee. I dropped my bag by the door, the thud echoing through our too-quiet house. "Where's Lucas?" Oh, he couldn't bear to face this. Such a sensitive soul, my boy. She stood, smoothing her designer skirt. "These are divorce papers. Lucas signed them this morning." The room tilted slightly. I grabbed the doorframe, steadying myself. "What?" "Don't act surprised, Valerie. You must have seen this coming. A talented writer like Lucas needs someone who can support his career, not hold him back with petty jealousy." I almost laughed. Talented writer. If she only knew how many nights I'd stayed up editing his manuscripts, how many rejection letters he'd hidden from her. How many lies he'd told about his successful career while living off my freelance work. "Where is he?" I demanded again. "At our house, where he belongs. Away from your influence." She thrust the papers toward me. "Sign them. Make this easier on everyone." My fingers trembled as I took the documents. Lucas's signature sprawled across the bottom, the same signature I'd watched him practice for hours when he was working on his author autograph. Always preparing for a success that never came. "Did he tell you about the advance he got last week?" Helen's eyes gleamed. "Simon & Schuster. They're very excited about his new novel." Another lie. I'd checked our account that morning. The only deposit was from my latest editing job. "Helen, I think you should leave." "Not until you sign." She pulled an expensive pen from her purse. "Lucas wants a clean break." "Does Frank know about this?" Her expression flickered. "Of course he does. We all agree it's for the best." I walked to the kitchen, papers clutched to my chest, and poured myself a glass of water. My wedding ring clinked against the glass. 5 years of marriage, dissolved in an afternoon ambush. I need time to review these with my lawyer. Helen's heels clicked across the hardwood floor. "There's nothing to review. Lucas is being more than generous, considering." "Considering what?" "Your lack of support. The way you've tried to overshadow his success with your little editing jobs." My little editing jobs that paid our mortgage. My little editing jobs that funded his writing conferences and workshops. My little editing jobs that kept his dreams alive while mine gathered dust. "I'll need 48 hours, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. 24, Helen countered. "Or we'll make things very uncomfortable for you." I turned to face her, really looked at her. The perfectly coiffed hair, the expensive clothes, the absolute certainty that her precious son could do no wrong. She believed every lie he'd told her, every fantasy he'd spun about his literary success. "You know what, Helen? I think things are about to get very uncomfortable for everyone." She narrowed her eyes. "Is that a threat?" "No." I placed the papers on the counter. "It's a promise. Now get out of my house." After she left, I sank to the kitchen floor, my back against the cool cabinets. My phone buzzed, a text from Lucas, "I'm sorry. It's better this way." Better for whom? I wondered, as rage began to replace shock. Better for the man who'd built his life on lies? Better for the mother who enabled every deception? Better for the wife who'd sacrificed everything for someone else's dreams? I pulled myself up and walked to our home office. Lucas's latest manuscript sat on the desk, covered in my notes and corrections. I picked it up, feeling its weight in my hands. Time to write my own story. I spent the night going through our financial records, each statement driving another nail into the coffin of my marriage. The numbers didn't lie, even if Lucas did. 5 years of transactions told a story of systematic deception. Money moved from our joint account to a private one I'd never known about. Cash withdrawals timed perfectly with his supposed writing retreats. My phone buzzed. Dylan's name lit up the screen. "You're still awake?" he asked when I answered. "Doing some light reading." I shuffled through the bank statements. "Did you know Lucas spent $4,000 at the Plaza Hotel last month? For a writer's conference that doesn't exist." "Val." Dylan's voice softened. "Come stay with me. Just until you figure things out." "I can't leave." "Not yet." I traced the hotel charge with my finger. "There's something else going on here, Dylan. Something bigger than just the divorce." A knock at the door made me freeze. "I have to go." Frank Mitchell stood on my doorstep, looking older than his 62 years. Unlike Helen's calculated aggression, his discomfort was palpable. "May I come in?" he asked, hands deep in his pockets. I stepped aside, watching him survey the living room, the space his son had abandoned. "Helen's not with you?" "She doesn't know I'm here." He settled into an armchair, the same one where Helen had delivered her ultimatum hours earlier. "Lucas told us you've been difficult about the divorce." "Difficult?" I laughed. "Is that what he calls wanting 24 hours to review legal documents?" "He's trying to be generous, Valerie. The advance from his new book deal." "There is no book deal." Frank's expression didn't change. "Simon & Schuster. Call them." I pulled out my phone. "Right now. Let's call Simon & Schuster and ask about Lucas Mitchell's contract." "That wouldn't be appropriate." "Because it doesn't exist." I handed him the bank statements. "What does exist is 5 years of financial records showing where your son's been spending our money, my money, actually. The money I earned while he pretended to be a successful writer." Frank's hands trembled as he took the papers. "These could be manipulated." "By who?" "The wife who's been paying the mortgage. The one who's been editing manuscripts that never sell." I moved closer. "When was the last time you actually saw one of Lucas's books in a store?" "He showed us the contract." "He showed you a lie." My voice cracked. "Just like he showed you everything else." Frank studied the statements, his facade crumbling with each page. "The Plaza Hotel? Check the dates. That weekend, he told you he was at a literary festival in Boston. Told me he was at a writing retreat in Vermont. This can't be right." But doubt had crept into his voice. "Call him. Ask him which literary agent represents him. Ask for his publisher's contact information. Ask him anything specific about his supposed success, and watch him change the subject." Frank stood abruptly. "You're trying to turn us against him." "No, Frank. Lucas did that himself. He just hasn't admitted it yet." After he left, I called Dylan back. "You okay?" he asked. "I just showed Frank proof that his perfect son is a fraud." I stared at the front door. "Helen will be here within the hour." "Want me to come over?" "No. I need to handle this." I gathered the bank statements. "But I need a favor. Can you look into something for me? The Plaza Hotel charges. I want to know who Lucas was really meeting." "You sure you want to know?" "I'm sure I need to." I heard a car door slam outside. "Helen's here. I'll call you later." I ended the call just as aggressive knocking rattled my door. Time to face the next act in this family drama. But this time, I had evidence of Lucas's lies in my hands, and I was done playing the supportive wife who looked the other way. Let Helen come. Let her defend her precious son. The truth was about to become very inconvenient for the Mitchell family, and I intended to serve it to them one revelation at a time. The knocking grew louder, more insistent. I straightened my spine and walked to the door, ready for round 2. Dylan's text arrived at 3 in the morning. Plaza Hotel security footage. "You need to see this." I met him at his apartment before sunrise, my hands shaking as he pulled up the video on his laptop. The timestamp showed last month's date, and there was Lucas, walking through the lobby with a woman I recognized immediately, Nora Bennett. My former boss. There's more, Dylan said quietly, fast-forwarding through hours of footage. They've been meeting there regularly for the past 6 months. My stomach lurched. Nora had been my mentor, had given me my first editing job. She'd even attended our wedding. Now I watched her disappear into an elevator with my husband, time after time, while I'd been at home editing his worthless manuscripts. How did you get this? I know someone in hotel security. Dylan hesitated. Val, look at this. He switched to a different file, bank records. The room charges weren't just coming from your account. Some came from Meridian Publishing's expense account. Nora's publishing house. The one that had rejected Lucas's novels 3 times. My phone buzzed, a text from Lucas, "We need to talk." "Coming over now." Perfect timing, I said, forwarding myself the video files. "Mind if I borrow your printer?" 20 minutes later, I was home, spreading documents across our dining room table when Lucas walked in. He looked terrible, unshaven, shirt wrinkled, dark circles under his eyes. "Good. Val, please, just sign the papers." He ran his hands through his disheveled hair. "Mom's driving me crazy, Anne. How's Nora?" He froze. "What?" I slid the hotel security photos across the table. "Still rejecting your manuscripts? Or just accepting other services?" "It's not what you think." "Really?" "Because I think you've been sleeping with my former boss while embezzling money from both me and her company." I tapped the bank statements. "The numbers don't lie, Lucas. Even if you do." He collapsed into a chair. "I can explain." "Explain what?" "How you used my connections to get close to Nora. How you've been stealing my money to maintain your fake success story. Or how about explaining to your mother that her precious literary genius son is actually a fraud?" "Don't tell her." His voice cracked. "Please, Val. It would kill her. Like you killed us?" I stood up, gathering the evidence. "You have 24 hours to tell your parents the truth. About everything. Or I will." "You wouldn't. The Lucas I married wouldn't have cheated with my mentor or stolen my money. Guess we've both changed." He grabbed my arm. "I'll tell them you're lying. They'll believe me. They always believe me." I yanked free. "Check your phone." He pulled it out, face paling as he saw the video I'd just sent. "Val. 24 hours, Lucas. Tell them, or everyone sees this. Your parents, Nora's husband, the board at Meridian Publishing. Everyone. You're bluffing. Try me." I walked to the door. "Oh, and I've frozen our joint accounts. Good luck explaining to Helen why her successful author son suddenly can't access his money." "This isn't you," he said. "You're not vindictive." "You're right. I'm not vindictive." I turned back to him. "I'm just done lying for you." After he left, I called Nora's office. "Valerie," she answered, too brightly. "What a surprise. Check your email." A pause, then sharp intake of breath. "I can explain. Save it for the board meeting. I'm sure they'll be very interested in how company funds were used to finance your affair with an aspiring author. Especially one you've officially rejected 3 times. What do you want?" "Nothing." I ended the call, then dialed Dylan. "It's done. How long until the bank records reach Meridian's financial department?" "Already sent. Anonymous tip about expense account irregularities." I looked at the divorce papers on my desk, Lucas's signature a reminder of every lie he'd told. "Thank you. Val? You okay?" "No. I watched the sun rise through my window. But I will be." The countdown had begun. 24 hours until Lucas's carefully constructed world imploded. 24 hours until Helen's perfect son was exposed. 24 hours until the truth finally set me free. I picked up my phone as it buzzed with another desperate text from Lucas. This time, I didn't respond. Some lies don't deserve a second chance. The email from Meridian Publishing's board arrived exactly 20 hours into Lucas's deadline. I was sorting through old manuscripts in our home office when my phone chimed. Nora Bennett had been suspended pending investigation. The company would be conducting a full audit of all expenses. My victory felt hollow as I boxed up Lucas's rejected novels. Each one bore my editorial marks, hundreds of hours spent polishing his mediocre prose into something almost publishable. I picked up his latest manuscript, the one he'd claimed Simon & Schuster wanted, and a folded paper fell from its pages. A contract. Not from Simon & Schuster, but from Meridian Publishing. Dated 3 months ago, signed by Nora Bennett. My hands trembled as I read the terms: a 3-book deal, substantial advance, marketing budget. All contingent on one condition: Lucas would publish under a pseudonym, with no connection to his previous work. The doorbell rang. Through the window, I saw Helen's Mercedes in my driveway. "I know what you did," she said when I opened the door. Her usual polished appearance was cracking at the edges, smeared mascara, trembling hands. "Which part?" I held up the contract. "The part where I exposed Nora's embezzlement, or the part where I discovered your son had actually sold a book, under a fake name?" Her face went pale. "What are you talking about?" "James Lawrence." I watched recognition flash across her features. "That's the name he chose. Interesting that you didn't know, considering you're such an involved mother." "You're lying." "The contract's right here." I handed it to her. Turns out Lucas finally succeeded, by pretending to be someone else. Someone who didn't have you hovering over his shoulder, demanding updates on his non-existent career. "This isn't possible." She sank onto the sofa. "He told us about Simon & Schuster. He told you what you wanted to hear. What you've always wanted to hear." I sat across from her. "Did you ever actually read any of his work, Helen? Or did you just need him to be successful so badly that you believed every lie?" My phone buzzed, Lucas calling again. I ignored it. "Why are you doing this?" Helen's voice cracked. "Why destroy our family? Your family destroyed itself." I moved to my desk, pulled out more bank statements. "While you were bragging about Lucas's imaginary success, he was stealing my money to maintain his lies. And sleeping with my former boss to secure a deal he was too ashamed to tell you about." The front door opened. Frank stood there, looking devastated. "It's true, Helen. I checked everything Valerie told me. The hotel footage, the bank records." "No." Helen stood, shaking her head. "Our son wouldn't. Your son did." Lucas appeared behind Frank, his face haggard. "All of it." The room fell silent. I watched the family I'd married into crumble before my eyes. Helen's perfect world shattered with each revelation, Frank's quiet dignity turned to shame, and Lucas finally looked like the fraud he was. "Why?" Helen whispered. "Because I couldn't be who you needed me to be." Lucas wouldn't meet her eyes. "Because every time I failed, you pushed harder. Because when I finally succeeded, I couldn't bear to tell you it was under someone else's name." My phone buzzed again, Dylan, this time. A text: "Meridian's board meeting ended. Nora's gone. They're keeping the James Lawrence contract." "Congratulations," I told Lucas, showing him the message. "You finally got what you wanted. A successful writing career, free from your family's expectations. All it cost you was your marriage, your mother's trust, and whatever integrity you had left." "Val. Don't." I gathered my papers. "The divorce papers are on the desk. I've already signed them. The apartment and everything in it is yours. Consider it payment for all the money you stole." I walked to the door, pausing beside Helen. "He's talented, you know. When he's not trying to be the son you demanded." Maybe if you'd seen that, none of this would have happened. Outside, the summer air felt clean, purifying. My phone buzzed one last time, an email from a literary agent I'd queried months ago, interested in my own novel. I smiled, feeling lighter than I had in years. Sometimes revenge isn't about destruction. Sometimes it's about clearing away the lies so truth can finally breathe. The real estate agent's keys jingled as she unlocked the apartment door. It's smaller than your current place, but the location is perfect. I stepped inside, breathing in fresh paint and possibility. Sunlight streamed through wide windows, illuminating hardwood floors unmarked by Lucas's pacing as he worked through writer's block. No trace of Helen's judgmental visits or Frank's disappointed sighs. My phone vibrated, another email from my literary agent. 3 publishers interested in my manuscript. The irony wasn't lost on me. "I'll take it," I said, just as Dylan's text arrived. "Turn on the news now." The agent handed me the lease papers while I pulled up the local news on my phone. There was Lucas, looking polished for the first time in months, standing at a podium at Meridian Publishing. Excited to announce my debut novel under the pen name James Lawrence, he was saying. "This book represents my authentic voice as a writer, free from external pressures and expectations." The agent glanced at my phone. "Oh, isn't that your husband? Soon to be ex." I signed the lease with steady hands. "When can I move in?" "Tomorrow, if you'd like." My phone rang. "Helen." I declined the call, but her text came through immediately. "He's using your story. The novel you wrote last year. The one you let him read." The room tilted. I steadied myself against the counter, remembering the manuscript I'd trusted Lucas to critique. The one that had disappeared from my laptop months ago, along with all my backups. Another text from Helen. "I found your original draft in his study. He barely changed anything. Just the names." "Are you all right?" the agent asked. "Fine." I handed back the lease. "I'll bring the security deposit this afternoon." Outside, I called Dylan. "I need your help. Remember that data recovery software you use for work?" "Already on it," he said. "I've got timestamps, original files, everything proving you wrote it. But Val, there's something else you should know." "What?" "Nora didn't just get suspended. She made a deal. She's going public about everything, the affair, the stolen manuscript, all of it. Says she has emails from Lucas promising to split the advance with her." I laughed, the sound harsh even to my own ears. "Of course she does. What are you going to do?" Through the apartment window, I watched a young couple walking hand in hand, reminiscent of Lucas and me 5 years ago. Before the lies. Before he stole not just my money, but my words. "Remember when you said I wasn't vindictive enough?" I opened my laptop, pulling up the email from my agent. "Watch me." I forwarded her the proof of Lucas's theft, copied to Meridian's board and every major publishing house in New York. Then I called Helen back. "I assume you're watching his press conference," she asked. "Upload the draft you found. Send it to everyone." "Valerie. You owe me this, Helen. After everything you've done, everything you enabled, you owe me the truth." Silence. "Then, it's done." I ended the call and dialed Meridian Publishing's PR department. "This is Valerie Mitchell. I believe you're about to publish a novel by James Lawrence. I have some information about its real author." Lucas was still speaking when security appeared on stage. I watched through social media live streams as they escorted him off, his face contorting with familiar desperation. My phone exploded with notifications: journalists, publishers, Lucas's agent. I ignored them all and drove to my new apartment. The empty rooms welcomed me, free from the weight of lies and stolen dreams. Dylan called again. "They're canceling the book contract. Meridian's lawyers want to talk to you about your original manuscript. Tell them to call my agent." I unpacked my laptop, settling at my new desk. I have a different story to write now. About Lucas? About truth. I opened a blank document. And what happens when lies finally run out of ink? The cursor blinked, waiting for words that were finally, truly mine. Outside, storm clouds gathered, promising to wash everything clean. The knock came at midnight. I'd been sitting in my new apartment's darkness, watching rain streak the windows, when Lucas's voice carried through the door. "I know you're in there, Val. Please." My manuscript sat open on my laptop, my real one, not the stolen version he'd tried to claim. 3 publishing houses were bidding on it now, eager for the scandal's publicity. 5 minutes, he said. That's all I'm asking. I opened the door. Lucas looked destroyed, unshaven, clothes wrinkled, eyes hollow. The press conference disaster had aged him years and days. "You won," he said, stepping inside without invitation. Meridian dropped the book. "Mom's not speaking to me. Even Nora's lawyers say I should settle. That's not winning." I moved away from him. "That's consequences. I can fix this." He pulled out his phone, showed me an email. "Random House wants both versions, yours and mine. A dual publication about marriage and betrayal. They're offering 6 figures." My laugh sounded foreign even to me. "You're still trying to profit from this? We could split it. Start over somewhere else. There is no we anymore. Val, please." He grabbed my arm. "I'm drowning here. The advance is gone, Meridian wants their money back, and Mom's threatening to sue me for fraud over the money she invested in my career." I yanked free. "Let go. Everything I did for us. You stole my work." The words burned. "You took my story, the one about my mother's death, my childhood, and tried to sell it as yours. That's not love, Lucas. That's parasitic." My phone buzzed. "Dylan, turn on channel 7 now." The TV flickered to life, showing Nora Bennett at her own press conference. "Affair was a calculated move to secure publication," she was saying. "Valerie Mitchell's manuscript was stolen by her husband, Lucas, who promised me a share of the profits if I helped him publish it under a pseudonym." Lucas lunged for the remote. I blocked him. Furthermore, Nora continued, Lucas Mitchell's previous works, published under various names, were heavily edited or partially written by his wife. "Who?" The screen went black. Lucas stood there, remote in hand, breathing heavily. "How many?" I asked. "Val. How many other stories did you steal?" He sank onto my couch. 3. Small presses, different names. Nothing successful. Get out. They're offering interviews, he said quietly. Morning shows, podcasts. They want both sides of the story. We could. Both sides? I pulled up my email, showed him the latest message. "Your father sent me this an hour ago. Bank records showing how you emptied their retirement account for your writing career. How you forged Helen's signature on loan documents." His face went ashen. "You can't." "I already did. It's with their lawyer now." I opened the door. "Your mother was right about one thing, you are drowning. But you built the pool yourself." "I'll tell them you knew," he said, desperation making his voice crack. "About the stolen stories, the money. I'll say you were part of it. No one will believe you anymore, Lucas. That's what happens when you run out of lies." He stood, swaying slightly. "I did love you." "No. You loved what I could give you, my talent, my money, my support. But you never loved me." After he left, I sat at my desk, staring at my manuscript. The story of my mother's battle with cancer, my journey through grief, words Lucas had tried to claim as his own. My phone buzzed again. "Helen, Frank's pressing charges." "I'm sorry." "Sorry for what?" Believing Lucas's lies? Enabling his theft? Or just sorry she'd backed the wrong writer? Rain pelted the windows harder, matching my heartbeat. I opened a new document and began to type. Not the story Lucas stole, but a new one. About a woman who thought love meant sacrifice, until she learned it meant survival. The cursor blinked, waiting. Outside, police sirens wailed in the distance, heading toward Lucas's apartment. I kept typing, each word a brick in the wall between my past and future. Some stories can't be stolen. They have to be lived. The courthouse hallway stretched before me like a gauntlet. Helen sat alone on a bench, her designer outfit wrinkled, her perfect posture finally broken. Frank stood by a window, talking quietly with their lawyer. Lucas was nowhere in sight. Ready? Dylan squeezed my shoulder. Before I could answer, the elevator dinged. Lucas emerged, flanked by 2 officers. His suit hung loose on his frame, his wrists cuffed in front of him. Our eyes met across the marble floor. Valerie. Helen's voice cracked. Please. Don't do this. I'm not doing anything, I said. Your son's actions are. Lucas shuffled closer, the officers guiding him toward the courtroom. Mom, I'm sorry. Save it, Frank cut in, turning from the window. You've done enough. The courtroom doors opened. As we filed in, I caught fragments of whispered conversations, reporters discussing the scandal. Publishing industry people speculating about book deals, curious onlookers drawn by the drama of a failed writer who'd stolen his wife's work. I took my seat beside the prosecutor. Lucas sat across the aisle, his attorney whispering urgently in his ear. The judge entered, and silence fell. Before we proceed, the judge said, I understand there's a potential plea agreement. Lucas's attorney stood. Your Honor, my client. I want to speak. Lucas rose, ignoring his lawyer's attempt to pull him back down. I need to say something. The judge peered over her glasses. Mr. Mitchell, I advise you to let your counsel. I did it, Lucas said. All of it. The theft, the fraud, everything. But I want to explain why. Sit down, his attorney hissed. I couldn't bear being a failure, Lucas continued, his voice breaking. Not to my mother, not to my wife, not to myself. Every rejection letter felt like proof that I wasn't good enough. So I started lying. Small lies at first, then bigger ones. Until the lies were all I had left. Helen sobbed quietly behind me. The truth is, Lucas turned to face me, I stole Valerie's story because it was everything I couldn't write, honest, raw, real. I told myself I deserved it because I'd supported her career, edited her work. But that was another lie. She supported me. She believed in me. And I betrayed that belief in every possible way. The judge cleared her throat. Mr. Mitchell. I accept whatever punishment the court decides, he said. But I needed Valerie to know, it was never about the money or the fame. It was about being worthy of the faith she put in me. Faith I never deserved. The courtroom erupted in murmurs. I sat frozen, feeling the weight of every eye on me. Lucas's words hung in the air, a final truth among countless lies. Your Honor, I stood, my voice steady. May I speak? She nodded. Lucas is right about one thing, this isn't about money or fame. It's about trust. He didn't just steal my work, he stole my story. My mother's death, my grief, my healing, he took experiences he never lived and claimed them as his own. That's not love or admiration. That's theft of the worst kind. I turned to face him directly. You wanted to be worthy? You could have been. By writing your own truth, not stealing mine. The judge called for order as the room buzzed with renewed whispers. Lucas slumped in his chair, the fight finally gone from him. Helen's quiet sobs had stopped, replaced by a hollow silence. The plea deal was read, the sentence pronounced. As the officers led Lucas away, he paused beside me. "I really did love you," he whispered. "No," I said. "You loved the reflection of yourself you saw in me. There's a difference." Outside, reporters swarmed the courthouse steps. I watched through the window as Helen and Frank pushed through the crowd, their family's facade finally, irrevocably shattered. Dylan touched my arm. "Want to use the back exit?" I shook my head, gathering my belongings. No more hiding. No more shadows. It was time to step into the light and tell my own story, in my own words. Finally, the truth would have its day in the sun. The bookstore's lights cast a warm glow over the crowd gathering for my first reading. Through the window, I spotted Helen standing outside, clutching a copy of my memoir. She hadn't come inside, but she hadn't left either. "Ready?" Dylan asked, adjusting the microphone stand. I opened my book to the marked page, running my fingers over the dedication, "For my mother, who taught me that truth is the strongest story we can tell." The chapter I'd chosen wasn't about Lucas or his betrayal. It was about my mother's last day, how she'd made me promise to write our story someday. How she'd known, even then, that words could heal what time couldn't. Helen slipped inside just as I began reading, taking a spot near the back. Our eyes met briefly before I continued. "Some lies we tell ourselves, some are told to us, but the truth always finds its way to paper." Afterward, during the signing, a young woman placed my book on the table. "This helped me leave my own Lucas," she said quietly. I looked up, seeing in her eyes the same mix of pain and determination I'd felt months ago. "What's your name?" "Sarah." I signed her copy. "Your story belongs to you. Write it well." The line dwindled until only Helen remained, her copy unopened in trembling hands. "I didn't know," she said, placing the book between us. "About your mother. About any of it. You never asked." "Lucas is writing again," she said. "In prison. His own stories this time. Real ones." "Good." She opened the book, revealing an envelope tucked inside. "He asked me to give you this. Said it was from before. Everything." I recognized the paper, the expensive kind Lucas used to buy when we first married, when hope still felt like enough. "I can't." "It's not asking for forgiveness," Helen said. "Just understanding." I slipped the letter into my bag, unopened. Maybe someday I'd read it, when the words wouldn't have power to wound. "Your father's memoir comes out next month," I told her. "About raising a son on lies and learning to face truth too late. You should read it." Helen's shoulders stiffened. Frank's writing was always better than Lucas's. More honest. Truth usually is. She turned to leave, then paused. "The story, about your mother's last day. I felt like I was there. That's because it really happened." After she left, Dylan helped me pack up the remaining books. "You okay?" "I found this in my old laptop bag this morning," I said, pulling out a worn notebook. "My first attempt at writing about Mom, from right after she died. Lucas never saw this version. Different from the published one? Rawer. Messier." I opened it to a dog-eared page. "But more true." The store owner dimmed the lights, signaling closing time. Through the window, I watched Helen get into her car, my book cradled against her chest like something fragile and precious. At home, I placed Lucas's letter on my desk beside my mother's old journal. 2 stories, one built on lies, one anchored in truth. Both part of who I'd become. My phone buzzed, an email from my publisher about the next book. Not about betrayal or revenge, but about healing. About how sometimes the stories we need to tell aren't the ones we planned. I opened my laptop, creating a new document. The cursor blinked, patient and promising. Outside, the city hummed with countless untold stories, waiting for their moment on the page. My fingers found the keys, and I began to write. Not about Lucas or Helen or the pain they'd caused, but about a woman who learned that the best revenge isn't destruction, it's creation. It's taking the broken pieces of truth and building something new, something entirely your own. The letter remained unopened on my desk, a reminder that some chapters are better left unread. I had my own story to tell now, and finally, every word belonged to me.